Hello everyone and welcome to round 4 of the Isle of Man International Chess Tournament, sponsored by chess.com and the Scheinberg family. My name is Fiona Steil-Antoni and with me, as every day, is delightful Simon Williams. How are you today, Simon?
Much better off that lovely introduction. Thank you, Fiona. And always a pleasure to sit next to you as well, should I say. And it's going to be a great day of chess today, isn't it?
It is.
So, brilliant day of chess. And
yesterday we now have a very reduced leader field, and we're going to have a look at the standings right now.
Yeah, definitely, because it's quite interesting, because yesterday we had, I think, 16 people, or maybe even more, on 2 out of 2, and only 2 of those players managed to win. So there's already, after 3 rounds, and this is quite strange, only 2 leaders. And that is obviously one of my favourite players of all time. I say obviously because I talk about him so much. And that is Mr. Fire on the board himself, Alexei Shirov. And he's always been one of my favourite players, you know, and we talked about him yesterday, how he's been a bit hard done by because he did deserve a shot at the World Championships about 15 years ago, but that was taken away from him. And he's a very exciting player. And what about his opponent, Shirov?
Yes, so his opponent is the young Indian player Vidit. He's only 21 years old and he's been making a lot of progress very recently. He played a very exciting game against Benjamin Bock yesterday, showed some excellent preparation. So I think we're in for an exciting clash on board 1 today.
Definitely, they're both very aggressive players, so I think it will be an interesting attacking and dynamic game. And then we have a very strong group of players just behind that on 4th, this is probably 3rd to 22nd place on 2.5 points. And they include the big 3 there, so Caruana, So and Nakamura.
And then it's maybe just worth highlighting a couple of, I think it's worth highlighting Elizabeth Pitts. As far as I can see, she's the only non-GM in that group, so she's having an excellent start to a tournament, and she's one of our camera boards today, so it'll be nice following her. Yeah,
I really hope she does well today. I mean, I co-host with her often in Gibraltar, and she's a lovely person, so I wish her the best of luck. She's playing against, I believe, Ilyanov, which we'll have a look at the pairings a bit later on. And the other female in that group is Ho Yifeng, of course.
Yes, the women's world champion.
Yes.
Right, so shall we just go straight to the pairings and see what awaits us today?
Yeah, definitely. So we're bringing pairings up now, and there is that top board encounter. But there's some other just mouth-watering prospects there, Fiona.
Yeah, I must say when the pairings came out last night, I was very much looking forward to today because not only are they very strong players, but we have some very interesting players. Of course, Caruana, So and Nakamura, they don't need any introduction. 3 of them are top 10 players, but their opponents are all they have very exciting chess styles. So on board 2, Salem Saleh from the United Arab Emirates. On board 3, Julio Granda, who doesn't need any introduction. We talked about him, I think, in all our previous shows. And then on board 4, Niels Grandelius, who held Fabiano to a draw yesterday. He got maybe a bit lucky, but then luck doesn't have any. He managed to mix the game up, create some.
I wouldn't say. I mean, he created chances in a very complicated position. Now, there's other very interesting pairings. I've just seen Maxime Rothstein is playing against David Howe. So I'm 2 young players there. I'm going to be excited about that. And
another pairing I'm looking forward to is Peter Leko against Lawrence Trent. Lawrence, who's very active on Twitter, of course.
Yes.
And Double Anand is back on the top boards against Georg Meyer. So a lot of clashes to look forward to today.
Definitely, definitely. And I think we should probably dive into the action soon, shouldn't we? See what's happening. So let's start with the game of the only 2 players on maximum points.
And just before we go there, so if you want to interact with us,
point your finger in the air like Fiona and go, oh, I'm going to get you.
So send your tweets, send your comments, use hashtag IOMChess or talk to us in the chat at chess.com/TV. And I got talking to that because someone in the chat asked who's Vidit, never heard of him before. It's true, he only started, I probably hadn't heard of him until a year or 2 ago, so He is a very strong Indian player. He was part of the national team at the Olympiad in Baku. He's also one of the seconds of Anish Giri. So if you haven't heard of him until recently, that's maybe not so much of a surprise, but do remember his name because you're going to hear a lot about him in the very near future, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, Vidit also quite recently played, well, he did extremely well at the last Olympiad, very recent Olympiad, but he played a tournament with other young prodigies. Can't recall exactly where it was now, but all the sort of other top prodigies. Where was it? Lake Sevan
in Armenia.
In Armenia, and he actually managed to win that tournament, proving that he might well be one of the brightest sort of hopes around from the younger generation. And he's clearly just an excellent player, and he's going to be, I would say, 2700 with no time whatsoever. If he's probably at the end of this tournament, he's got a great chance.
I think I saw a tweet last night that his life rating is now 26, 93, 94, something like that. So I think with a win today, maybe not, it's not quite enough. 2 more wins and he'll probably have a life rating of 2700. And he is a real part of Team Anish now, because also today, before the round started, you could see him on camera chatting to the Lamis, Erwin and Alina. So
just mentioning the Dutch players there, I mean, I think we should also congratulate Giri and his wife, Sopkika, who's I'll let you say it, Giri and his wife, Sopiko, sorry, who have just had a baby boy, Daniel. So congratulations to them. I think it was born yesterday, so pass on our regards.
So let's dive into the action and see what
it's contagious.
It's your mispronunciation wave.
Don't blame it on me. Don't blame
So let's see what Shirov and Vidit have prepared for us today.
It is funny how things sort of transpond between the two commentators, and one person gets the name wrong, then it's contagious. Okay, well...
And someone is asking, so Vidit is the second highest ranked Indian? No, there is Hari Krishna. Hari Krishna, who I think might be in the live top 10 live top 10 right now. I'll just
Hari Krishna is 2750 at least. I don't know exactly how high, but he's a very strong player.
2759.9.
So
current number 14 in the world. So could be that his number...
I'm not sure. There was another player who always used to be, second or third, and Sasha Kiran. I don't actually know what happened to him. He doesn't seem to play so much now, Sasha Kiran, but it's strange because he was a very strong player and as good as Hari Krishna for a long time. So, okay, on to the action. So we have a Karakan, Shirov with white playing the aggressive first move, e4. I say aggressive, it's probably the most aggressive move, even though d4 can be aggressive as well if played in the right manner. And this Karakan is, I think, a very good way to play for a win with black as well, so it leads to very interesting positions. We now get the most topical variation theoretically at the moment, and that is the advanced Karakan with e5, and this is quite a simple line for white to play because you don't have to worry about a lot of stuff. You just push the pawn on. Bishop f5, this typical idea, and now again the topical Nigel Short variation, so-called the short variation, with knight to f3 and bishop to e2. And we saw this in an earlier game being played. e6, bishop e2, and now one of the main moves here, c5. And black has wasted a tempo going c6, c5, but he's trying to attack white's central pawns here. And this is, I think, one of the main lines of the Karakan at the moment. So we're going to have to, hopefully they're both well prepared. I'm sure they are. I mean, we saw how well prepared Vidit was yesterday, didn't we, Fiona? Yeah. He was exceptionally well prepared. So,
and even now, look at his clock. He's on 144.
Wow, he's playing at the speed of light. I mean, it's quite funny when people just play, that quickly. He's obviously looks at his position in quite a lot of depth.
Yep.
So bishop e3, trying to bolster the centre. Pawn takes d4. Knight takes d4. So black has now, by capturing this pawn, created a slight weakness there because that can't be defended as easily now. So that pawn can be attacked. But white's got this lovely knight in the centre, and you don't want to allow knight takes bishop. So knight to e7. Shirov gets his king castled. It was actually Alexei Shirov. I had this in an earlier round. I seem to remember now. He played an early c4 against someone and won that game. Strong player. So he's already had a little bit of experience in this variation. Have Alexei. Knight b c6, attacking the center. And now bishop b5, pinning that knight, a6. Bishop takes c6, and you have to take with a pawn because your knight is needed to defend the bishop. And like the last time we looked at this, it takes black a couple of moves to get castled. He has to move the knight, he has to move the bishop, so it's going to take him at least 3 moves to get castled. And then a typical idea here for white, same idea Shirov used a couple of rounds ago, 2 rounds ago, c4. And this is trying to open up the center of the board because you've castled and your opponent hasn't. And now there's maybe some potential, I don't know, of bringing the queen to a4 as well. So Vidit has played queen to d7. So he's not in a rush to castle, but this is all theory. I mean, it's of course all theory. Yep. And this is going to be very interesting because I don't know what the theory is here, I have to be honest, but can Shirov open it up quickly here? Can he try to get a quick attack somehow? I mean, can he go? It's not so crazy, is it? I mean, if I was white here, I'd be thinking g4. The bishop at some point will have to go here. I mean, you could go here first, but it's the same thing. And then I want to go f4. Can you play like this? I just want to go f5 and Shirov him. So, you know, f5 and wait, tally-ho, off we go.
Can I play something like h5 though?
You can, and then I have to play f5 before you can break me up. And I'm wondering if this is the kind of thing I'd be looking at. Maybe we see now why the queen is on d7.
Yeah.
Maybe it's on d7 because after pawn takes f5, which I'm assuming is pretty much forced, if the queen was on d8, then I'd have pawn takes pawn. I'm just wondering here if I have any tactical ways I can complicate. I'm trying to think like Shirov now, which is like basically like a lunatic. And can I see anything here that looks dangerous? I can't see an immediate way to continue this vague attack. So it might be a little bit early, but something like g4 is very thematic.
But
it's normal.
I think it's already a good sign for Vidit. You know, he's gotten Alexei to start thinking. He's clearly still in his prep, so you know, just taking an early, slight psychological upper hand.
Yes.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's go to board 2, where Salem is facing Fabiano Caruana.
Okay, and right, where have they gone? Where have all the games gone, Fiona?
You've switched the tournament broadcast.
Okay, so just bear with 1 minute. I've just my hands doing some funny things, clicking away. If you watch any of my Blitz games online, you will actually find out that I often am not very good clicking on the right thing. So we're going to bring this back up again. Do I need to?
Should I?
Yeah, I'll let you.
You just talk something.
I'll talk. I'll talk about something. Actually, that game there, the Salem game, I'm just seeing it now. Wow, that looks brilliant.
Okay, I can just.
Great stuff. Okay.
Did you catch any
That's fine.
yesterday?
Oh,
Did we catch any? We didn't catch any arbiters yesterday. No, we've had this ongoing. Well, actually, we had a bit of you, Matthew, a little bit of you, but you're being very. You weren't doing anything. Oh, Fiona, this is what happens when you leave Fiona in charge of things. Fiona, what are you doing to the broadcast? I mean, okay, we'll get there eventually. But we've had this ongoing joke, if anyone's wondering, when we had these cameras and we caught one of the arbiters putting pieces in the box and out the box, and he looked like he was having a great time. And you can see, if you're on Twitter, we're back in business, are we? Oh.
I think it's because the game's already open somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so we're just, I'll keep talking just while we get this up and going. And you can see the 2 players there. So we can see Salem from UAE, and he's the strongest player from that part of the world at the moment. And we have Caruana, the top seed. And actually this is looking really, really exciting. Now, I really like the way Salem plays. He's such an exciting player. So this is one of the games that I'm basically really looking forward to, because Salem always goes for the attack. He always goes for the attack. He's basically not afraid of anything, it seems, when he plays chess. So
but
with
I
the white,
think Salem is one of the players who benefited from working with a good friend of ours, and that's Ivan Sokolov.
definitely.
Who was coaching in UAE for a few years, and he was mainly there to work with Salem, so
Definitely, I think.
definitely benefited from that.
I mean, I imagine that Ivan Sokolov, who's defeated Kasparov when he was world champion, being one of the top players in the world, also done some very good DVDs, I hear, which everyone should buy. But he worked with Salem for a long time, as you mentioned, and he also coached the Iranian team at the last Olympiad, where they actually performed. I think they got in the top 10, did they? The Iranian team. Maybe you can you can tell me. But yes, it was very impressive. Anyway, so let's go on to the game, and this is a really exciting variation we see here. So Fabiano starting with the Slav, c6, Salem knight to f3, knight to f6, and now playing the main move here, knight to c3. And now we have the Slav proper, I should say, by taking on c4. Now e6, just for those of you who don't know, is the so-called semi-Slav, when the most aggressive move, and I'm sure the move that...
and just look who's checking out the game. Every time I say something about the camera, they just go away, but we saw Lawrence Trent there just checking out.
Lawrence Trent seems to be everywhere.
His boys, as he likes to call Fabiano.
His boys?
No, I was going to say his boys' game.
Oh, his boys' game, okay, right, yeah. So, yeah, then obviously his manager. And... well, I mean, e6 here allows bishop g5, which is the most aggressive line. Taking on c4 is always a move that it's quite theoretical. Now, I've always played the so-called Geller gambit here. Well, not always, but I have. But I tend not to play this anymore because it's a bit dubious. a4 is the main move because this stops b5. And if white can go e4, bishop takes c4, white is better because you get this big center. Generally. So e6 is now becoming a little bit more fashionable, but it's one of the sharpest variations. So I'm quite surprised Fabiano's gone into this. He's really a very brave player because this is incredibly sharp, and you're really giving Salem exactly what he wants, I'd have thought. e4, of course. Now bishop b4, and the point here is that knight takes e4 is a possibility. I have to actually say that bishop takes c4 is a move I actually looked at a little bit anyway, and it's an interesting gambit here, which I don't know if anyone's actually really played that much. Knight takes e4, and now you castle, offering a second pawn. I was actually looking at this a little bit just as a different way to play. But the main move here is of course just e5, and this pawn here can be a really major attacking unit in the center of the board. The knight should come into the center, d5. This is one of the pluses of black's position. And there's a threat on c3. So you break the threat, bishop to d2. And now black's main idea, quite a greedy idea, b5. And black just wants to hold on to the extra pawn. I love these positions as white. Yeah. These are my favorite type of positions I get. You know, I always aim for this type of structure. I really enjoy playing this kind of thing because even though black's a pawn up, you often get great attacking ideas. This knight coming in. Another thematic idea is this knight coming to g5. And actually what white plays here is a main move. And that is Harry 4. Very standard idea and one of the main moves in this position. And the point of this...
Harry was having quite a day yesterday.
He was, yeah.
I wonder how he's going to get on
I hope he has a great day today as well. Yeah, he's having the time of his life. Are you going to sing that for us today?
Not today.
Oh,
I need to change songs as well. I can't sing
the same song. All right. Well, what song would you like to sing?
We'll see later on.
Okay, so h4, and this is a useful move because when the knight comes to g5, it supports the knight, so that's really handy. And also, as we're going to see, it gives the rook some great attacking potential. h6, stopping the knight moving into that square. Now I have to say, instead of h4, the way I thought you're meant to play this in the old theoretical line, but I haven't kept up with the latest theories so much, is knight to g5 immediately. This was the old main line, and it was supposed to be quite good for white. but maybe computers misassess this. There's a nice trick here. I mean, for example, you know, castling is really asking for it. Queen h5, h6, knight to e4, and you're just looking at stuff like this for the rest of the game. It might be playable, but you really have to be so well prepared. And there's also a trick here that a lot of people, grandmasters, have fallen into. Knight takes knight, pawn takes, and now bishop takes c3. And this is a move that a lot of grandmasters have tried with the idea of winning a second pawn. So black is 2 pawns up. But now after simply pawn takes pawn, this is another reason the pawn on a4 is very good, white gets a fantastic position, because if pawn takes pawn, queen f3 wins the rook on a8. So knight to g5 I know is the main line. I don't know what the theoretical thing is. h4 looks sensible, but now this knight maneuver is stopped, and this knight now is not maybe as good as it would be on the e4 square. I always thought this knight should move to g5, move to e4. So, okay, well, Salem's obviously prepared something, and he's gone rook h3. Might look like a beginner's idea, but in actual fact, you know, the rook is very good on this square. Fabiano simply develops knight d7, and now rook g3, attacking the pawn on g7. Now, you know, if you castle here, you should go back to chess school. Is there such a thing? Not in England, but okay. King f8 is a bit ugly. g6 is probably the best way to stop this. And if h5, what you do is black, you always play g5. You try to keep things closed over there. And we are now, well, has he gone rook g3? I don't know if he has.
He has gone rook g3.
This has been played, okay.
And Fabiano has also played
g6. And now we're waiting a white's move here. I mean, I think Fabiano would have to be very well prepared against a player like Salem to go into this, because Salem is
I don't doubt he is very well prepared.
I still think it's a dangerous opening choice, because you're playing into white's hands, and you know he should be happy with this kind of position. Okay, you're a pawn down, but you should get some attacking chances. I mean, but what do you do here? What do you actually do? I mean, a main idea would be knight e4. Knight e4 would be idea number one, because if these bishops come off the board, if these are exchanged, then I have this fantastic d6 square to rest my knight for the future. So knight e4 looks very natural to me. There's also an idea here, Fiona, of going queen c2. I'm wondering with maybe it's a maybe it worked. Maybe it's really strong. That could actually, if you played it in this position, force a draw. I mean, let's say that black plays bishop b7. Maybe it's a maybe. Pawn takes, just show it, it's quite fun. King e7 not possible because of queen g7, and if king here, well, we take on h6 check, and this should be at least a perpetual for white. It might even be more when the knight comes to g5. So
why is king e7 not?
Because of queen g7. So if I take here, king here, then check, and I take the rook with check next move. So there's a lot of dangerous ideas here. So I think this is going to be a great game.
This is shaping up very nicely.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we're going to move on to board 3, where Julio Granda is playing against Wesley So.
There we go. And right, we'll go through the moves, shall we, from the start. And Julio's openings are pretty atrocious for this level. I mean, I say atrocious. Apparently he's never read a chess book in his life. He's the kind of guy who's just an amazingly talented player. One of the only people who can get away with it.
Atrocious is a wrong way of describing it. I think he plays his sort of openings. He just doesn't have a lot of theoretical knowledge. That doesn't mean they're true. I think he probably knows the systems he plays fairly well, but then if he gets caught off guard like he did here against Danny Gormali, for example, we keep reminding you of that game where he lost, I think, in 16 moves. But
that was pretty atrocious.
That was pretty atrocious,
so, I mean, generally, you're right, actually. I mean, atrocious is too harsh a word. He plays his own setups, doesn't he, which are non-theoretical. He doesn't even try to get an advantage out the opening with white often. He just wants to play his own thing. And apparently he's also lost to who?
I was watching that, actually. It was, I think, the summer in Benasco, somewhere in Spain. He lost to Silvio Danilov, and I think that this was just before he was about to hit 2700. Oh, really? That was the start of his downfall.
That's a bad
Silvio Danilov, who's not really playing much chess these days. He's, of course, famous for being The manager of Veselin Topalov and former ECU president.
Yeah, that's a bad way not to get to 2,700 because
Yeah.
he can only be, I don't know what his rating is, but it's not very high.
24.50.
Oh, really? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
It's much higher than I thought.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay, my apologies. So, okay, so we have an English, probably a good choice for a non-theoretical player because you're not going to get attacked quickly of white if you play the English. You can just plod about for a while, and we've seen this reverse Sicilian structure before, where you allow black to play d5. Something I never really enjoyed playing as white. One of the reasons I gave up the English in actual fact, but it's a matter of style. And here bishop g2, it's not like a Sicilian now because black has to do something this knight. Now a common trick here is something like bishop e7. I've seen this played a lot, and I think here white can play knight takes e5. This is something that you should be aware of. And if black takes that one, you win a nice safe pawn. And if black takes on c3, well, you get an interesting sequence. You take on c6, take on d1, take on this square, and this kind of thing is known to be good for white. Because, okay, take on f2 is playable, and you get this kind of position, but these two central pawns give white a nice advantage. So, knight b6, and now d3, bishop e7, both sides castle, and it looks like we have one more, well, a couple more moves there actually. And let's just see, there we go. We can't see them coming in on the board yet, but I can guess what they are. After castles, it looks like white's gone bishop to e3. This is the way I used to play. When I used to play as white, I used to play in the same way white's played here. Nowadays, the modern fashion, as David Howell played, is with a3. This is the modern way to play, and b4 quickly, and bishop b2. But as Julio is maybe, you know, it doesn't really keep up with modern fashion, I wouldn't imagine. Bishop e3 suits his style. What did, and now rook e8 looks like it was played.
And rook c1.
And now real. Start here, it's counterpart, but here, this square here is the key square for white, is to go.
He doesn't go to e4, but to a4.
Similar idea,
But
yeah. The square here. So, I mean, I see.
Explosive style, so
Cool, and it's sorry to not flash. Both have their they are, yeah.
I think
He was my man. So you okay, a Najdorf c6 Sicilian. I can play bishop e7, bishop g, b this square, and can white keep this outpost? Now white would not want to take with a pawn here. This is well worth remembering for a lot of lower rated players here, because if you take with a pawn with white, you lose all your advantage. You lose an outpost and you lose the pressure against the backwards pawn. By taking with the queen, you keep the outpost and you keep pressure against this backwards pawn. So just a little tip there. Rook a7, bishop e3, rook b7, and now queen d3.
Simon, can you explain that rook b7 move to me? Because I was thinking when, I mean, I don't know the first thing about this position, but when I saw rook a7, I thought it was for black to play bishop b7, but rook b7, oh, the rook is attacked. That is...
That's yeah,
Sorry.
but you saw that. You're
I'm
wondering
having
why.
a bit of a tricky day today so far.
That's all right. We're just it's the start of the game, so
Yeah.
But I think what you may be thinking is why not bishop b7, weren't you? That's
Well, also I don't understand. Okay, now I can see the rook is attacked. I was going to follow up my question with another stupid question. Why not go to c7? And then I saw bishop b6, and I thought maybe I should just shut up for the next hour.
No, don't do that. We can't have that.
Okay, this is a reasonable question. Why not?
Yeah, something like this is reasonable, isn't it? Just put a bishop there and
then go back to a8.
Do you just not like rooks? Is that what it is? You're anti-rookist. You're a rookist. You're a rookist person.
Rookophobia.
Rookophobia. What did you used to call them? It was much nicer. Rooks.
Rooks.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, why not bishop b7 though? It's a good point, isn't it? Because this
okay, but I guess if she's put it, the bishop's just going to go out on the other diagonal.
Yeah, I suppose it wants to come to this square, doesn't it? And okay, so it's a bit annoying moving this rook about like this. I mean, you're doing some funny little moves. I mean, okay, queen d3, bishop e6, b3 here. This is just the kind of position I think Mickey knows so well. I'd hate to have this position against Mickey.
Yeah.
I've seen him. He actually won a game against one of our teammates and a friend of ours, David Eggleston,
At the British.
in pretty much the same kind of position. He's just so good in these positions. He knows exactly where to put his pieces. There's no real mating attacks going on here. It's at some point manoeuvring around here, pressurizing here, maybe going c4 or a4 at the right moment, pressure, maybe f4. I mean, these kind of ideas, and Mickey loves this kind of manoeuvring battle, and he's one of the best in the world at playing this. He has been for a number of years, so I mean, he'll be very happy the way the opening's gone, I think, so yeah.
Okay, so shall we move on to board number 6, where Elizabeth Pates is facing Pavel Elyanov.
Yeah, definitely. This is going to be a very interesting game. Elizabeth is having a great tournament so far. You can see her there, and Elyanov did just play board 1 for Ukraine
at the Baku Olympiad.
So let me see if I can find this game.
At the bottom there.
Okay, great.
No, that's wrong.
Oh, I got the wrong pads. Got the wrong pads. Ah! I got yeah.
With the exclamation mark.
Oh? Oh yes. Where's the exclamation mark?
In the box. Before.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. So this looks like a Shrezhnikov kind of thing. Okay, should we have a look? Shrezhnikov. Oh dear. So knight to f3, knight c6, d4, and Elizabeth nearly always plays e4. Takes knight to f6, knight c3, and now e5. The so-called Shrezhnikov, and e5 named after the player. Do you know who this was named after?
Evgeny.
What's his surname?
Sveshnikov.
That's a trick question. I was trying to be a bit mean there. I thought you might go, I don't know, was it named after Kasparov? And I was like, no, it is named after Shrezhnikov. And Shrezhnikov.
I never know when you're taking the P when you're pronouncing name.
No, I'm taking the Y actually. Yeah, I don't know, but Shrezhnikov is a great player, and his son also plays as well. And this is actually, I think it was a very aggressive opening, and Gelfand used to play this opening with great results. Okay, so we're going to have a long theoretical line now. Knight b5, trying to come into d6. So you have to, well, you don't have to stop that move, but it's advised to stop it. D6. And now, again, it's often a fight about this square. White gains domination of this square, but when black plays a Shrezhnikov, he plays a very active play, as we'll see shortly. Bishop g5.
We haven't actually seen many Shrezhnikovs on the highest level lately.
No, we haven't. No, not for the last year or so, actually. But I'm not really sure why, because it was always considered a pretty decent opening. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know why. There's no reason I know of. Maybe the top guys know a secret reason. This move aims to maybe control that knight, so you get more control of d5. A6, knight to a3, b5. So this is one way black gets active play over here. Knight comes into that lovely square, and well, yeah. I mean, I suppose the Berlin has maybe replaced the Shrezhnikov as a drawing weapon. I don't know if the Shrezhnikov is ever a drawing weapon, to be honest. I mean, it's a very aggressive, double-edged opening.
So is Berlin.
Producers just said so is the Berlin, and you know what I think about that. So blow the Berlin away. That's what I say. Blow up the Berlin. Don't like the Berlin. Not a good opening. Not a fun opening for me to commentate on. But we haven't had one Berlin yet. Can we keep it up? I really hope so.
I hope we can, but I'm a bit worried about the later stages when the top players
start playing each other and start drawing out.
Maybe we can keep it up. Let's hope
I hope so. Okay, on with the game. So bishop e7, bishop takes bishop, bishop takes bishop, c4. This is one of the main lines. I suppose as a drawing weapon, there's a lot of maybe forced draw lines in the Shrezhnikov that white might be able to play, but white won't be wanting to draw. Knight c2, castles, bishop e2, a5. Black's counterplay is really based on queenside play and maybe playing f5 at some point. White is probably positionally winning in the Sveshnikov, I'd say. I mean, that's a pretty bold statement, but there's a knight here. That's a beautiful square, and there's a bad backwards pawn. And this is even more serious than in the Mickey game, because black can't really get rid of this knight. It's a knight there. It's not a queen there. It's actually a knight there. So positionally,
which can be supported by the other knight.
Yeah.
If there is a need.
In some cases, this goes here, yeah. So castles, bishop g5, and this is all theory. This is quite a crafty move. You want to go f5, reason number one, and also if that knight does come here, you can sometimes whip it off, whoosh, and do that. So queen d3, again theoretical, because white is trying to just increase the pressure on d6. Bishop e6, developing the last piece. Rook a d1.
And I have to say, I really like, I mean, I don't know much about this opening, but at a glance, I really like Elizabeth's position.
Yeah, it's still theoretical, this and there's a lot of positional dangers here for black, because, you know, black could just lose this d6 pawn, and in order to play this opening, you have to have a really good understanding, I think, for black, because you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. I mean, the main ideas you try to do here is at some point swap this knight off and actually hope that white takes with a pawn. This would be ideal, because you get rid of your weaknesses. Another idea, if this bishop can get over to this square, I see this happening, then black is better all of a sudden, because the bishop defends and it attacks. So they're positional ideas. And white's just got the simple idea of just winning this pawn on d6. So yeah, I mean, I think Lizzie should be very happy with the way this has gone, but it's a normal theoretical position, and probably meant to be roughly equal, maybe slightly better for white, but only that much, which is not much. Okay, right. And where should we go?
Let's move on, because the next board is our good friend David Howell.
Let's move there,
and
definitely.
He has the black pieces against Maxim Rothstein.
And
if we can find...
do you think these guys know each other at all?
Well, they are roughly from the same generation, I believe, so they should know each other. Although I think that maybe
I think they're about similar ages, aren't they? Definitely.
Similar-ish.
Yeah, similar-ish. Yeah, definitely. And they've been probably competitors for a long time, you know. So yeah.
I think that's fair to say.
I think so. So e5, knight to f3, and now we have David. Oh no, David! I'm sure he was. Oh, good. I thought he was going to play the Berlin. I was nearly getting a cold sweat there, because David does actually basically play the Berlin. Quite a lot now, unfortunately.
We see so many Joko pianos now, so let's see how this one
definitely
unfolded.
The Italian, bishop c4.
David, who told me yesterday he wasn't too happy with how he played yesterday.
Right.
Like, we only got to look at the game briefly in the opening. He was playing Movsesian, but it was rather dull. Yeah. Can you say that?
Yeah, of course we can. Yeah, I say it all the time. Yeah, I mean, it's you know. And
I think we didn't miss out by not checking back.
Okay, good. Well, hopefully this one will be.
So hopefully some more fireworks today.
So let's have a look. So bishop c4, knight to f6, and well, I mean, I was talking about the Max Lang attack. I'd love to show a game here. I was looking at the other day, but I don't think I will, because people get annoyed. But this, I mean, I actually think this d4 move is very good at club level. If you want to look,
Sorry to interrupt you, but we were talking about whether they are from the same generation, and one of the times they played, I'm not sure if there was another one, but they did play in 2001 in the under-12 World Youth Championship, and Howell won that one.
There you go. They're certainly competitors then, certainly in competition together. And they've played 5 times, and Howell has a plus score of 3.5 against Rothstein's 1.5. So the last time they played was in Biel, which is in Switzerland, in 2010, and the game was a draw. So there you go. My memory suddenly clicked into gear there. God, these facts are just waiting there. I just need to warm it up a little bit, lubricate the brain, and it gets going. Well, anyway, a good idea for club players is d4. You know, people don't play this at top level, but if you're looking for a very exciting opening, go d4, pawn takes d4, and castles kingside here. This can lead to so much fun, this opening, the Max Lang attack. And I think everyone should look at this at some point in their life, because it's just a lot of fun to play. You don't see that at top level because there's no advantage in the max lang, but I mean, I'll probably give it a go soon. I don't really care. So knight to f6 and just d3. Bishop c5, castles, and this would lead to a slow Italian manoeuvring battle. Yeah. d6, c3, standard. The only difference in this position between the symmetrical is the pawn here and the knight here. This is the only difference in the position, and this is why White claims to have a small advantage, because he claims he has more possibilities of doing things, but because the knight is in the way of the pawn, but it's such a small thing. a6, making the bishop a home to run to. h3, stopping anything coming to here, and the bishop pokes its way back to a7, and that's kind of a good move, isn't it?
I am going to have a go at David tonight.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, look at his time. He spent 40
come on,
minutes
David.
on this.
He plays this all the time.
I have played this position about 10 times in my life. Like, it's just
Yeah.
basic. Or are there some more moves? Did something crazy happen?
I don't think so, because that's the position there.
I can't believe he'd spend 40 minutes on this.
He loves doing this, though. Why does he do this, Fiona?
Why does he do
we are
this?
good friends with him. I don't really ask him about this, but should we gang up on him tonight?
We will yeah.
Should we have what do they say? A sort of intervention, an intervention.
A violent intervention.
Well, okay. Not if he loses. That will be actually. We should. If he loses, we can't really say anything, can we? We should stay. We should not mention it. But if he wins, we can.
Oh, if he draws.
Wins, if he draws, because
Yeah.
this is such a normal position, and he will know this position. He will have looked at this position. He would have studied this position. He would have done a number of things with this position, and. I mean, I even know this position. I don't play it. Fiona knows this position. Probably even our producer knows it, and the man walking outside down the street knows it. Do you want to shout at the window and check? Do you know this position? I bet he will. And David Howell knows this position, and he spent 40 minutes.
So we're being told.
Why?
We're being told he's been thinking for 8 minutes now, but before he spent roughly 5 minutes on each move. Or like on a lot of, and it's just like, why would you do that?
I've no idea, because surely
and it upsets me because we're all teammates with David. So I am the captain of our team in England, and just watching his games, it just stresses me out.
Yeah, I can understand
Every single bloody game.
Does his game stress you out more than mine?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to live long, am I?
No,
Captaining a team with you and David in it.
A bunch of lunatics and like people who just like spending their time. Maybe he's daydreaming, because I think with David, he plays so well at Blitz. He's probably one of the best Blitz players in the world. I think that's not an exaggeration. He's been number one on Chess 24, I think it's called, some chess site, and he's been number one on, and I'm very high on chess.com and on other chess sites at Blitz. I saw him play Nakamura in a series of games, and he was holding his own and doing better against Hikaru. So he's very good at Blitz.
I would understand if you took a minute at the start to decide which setup you're going to go for, but this is all so standard. I don't understand.
He only took 3 minutes on his first move. So I mean,
maybe it was a bit late. It was maybe you don't know.
I don't know. I'm totally with you, Fiona, because why do you want to get yourself short time? It's like giving yourself a handicap. It's like,
why would you spend almost half of your allocated time to get to a position which has been played a million bloody times in chess history?
Oh God, you're getting strong now. Strong words are coming out now.
I'm gearing up for tonight.
I'm getting
my speech ready.
Can I have a glass of wine before we let loose? I have to be the mediator. Don't make him cry. Have you ever made a man cry like that before, talking about chess?
Not about.
Okay, right. Won't go there. Move on. Okay, A4 played, and he's stopping B5, but I'm with you, Fiona. Why?
We need an intervention.
I don't understand it. It's a good point. He's a good friend of ours, and we will have to ask him.
Did he play?
He must have played something. So, okay, what's he played there?
Bloody David.
Not that bad. It's only because you like him so much. He gives you the odd heart palpitation.
Exactly. Just to make it clear, of course, David is a very good friend of ours.
Yeah. So we want him to do well, don't we?
Yeah.
I think, out of everyone in the tournament to win this tournament, David is certainly, I'd certainly be happy for him to win it, and probably my favourite person to win it, maybe some other guys as well. Or even Lisbeth, I'd like to say Lisbeth.
Right, let's leave this one. I mean, I've seen this position 100 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, we can't really tell you anything new. This is all standard.
All normal.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll come back to this and hopefully...
I need to calm down now.
Yeah.
Find me some... Let's go to Leko against Lawrence.
Okay,
so
yeah,
I can
you need some light humour, don't you? Do you want to see... calm down with Lawrence Trent.
And we're being told it's a dragon.
Oh, yes. Come on, Lawrence.
I'm not going to calm down there.
Get in there, Lawrence, you nutter. Well, Lawrence, this is great stuff.
This is great.
This is much more like it, because, I was going to say I'm not going to be rude, and I was going to say something rude. It's like, I don't mean to insult you, but we had this before. I don't mean to.
We did have this before.
Peter Leko, extremely strong player, and he has a reputation of being a boring player. He does, unfortunately, and that's not really true. And we all joke about it occasionally. A bit like Geary now has the reputation of being a bit of a boring player when he's not at all. And Lawrence is saying, right, I'm going to have some fun today. And I'm so happy that Lawrence has played the Dragon.
Actually, one of the last times I saw Peter Leko play somewhere was in the European Club Cup. Although we can bring up the tweet, we were talking about Anish, and Anish, it was quite a humorous tweet. Did you see it?
I saw some of the responses. I thought were quite fun.
We will bring it up, but I was saying, one of the last times I saw Peter Leko was in the European Club Cup in Bilbao 2 years ago. And he lost a game to Manuel Bosboom there.
Wow.
So I think Manuel Bosboom, who is a crazy
guy.
So I think this might be a good approach, and we talked about this a lot in round one. If there is such a big rating gap, 250 points in this case, just
gamble.
Yeah,
Gamble. Definitely. And I'm okay. There we go. So congratulations to Anish Giri, and there's a lot of other people congratulating him on the Twitter, and he's just become, and to of course his wife as well. And their son Daniel, so that's good stuff. Yeah, yep. So happy days. And
I wonder, and Anish is playing against Kramnik today, so it will be interesting to see how his first game as a daddy goes. I know that's going to be really, really weird to play because he's probably not able to see his kid until the end of the tournament as well. I think it's just 3-4 more days. So
still quite a long time when you just had a kid being born. You can't see your kid, so . Okay, so pawn takes d4, knight takes d4, and now after knight c3, none of this popular Nyadov stuff which everyone enjoys playing. We go for g6. Yeah. Now the Dragon, this is an opening I've played most of my life on and off with. I've dabbled with this move for a long time. I played it against some great players, and the reason a lot of English players play the Dragon has to be down to Chris Ward, who's Grandmaster Chris Ward, and Grandmaster Chris Ward has written a number of books when I was a junior on the Dragon. Also, because it's got the coolest name in chess. It's the Dragon. Who doesn't want to play the Dragon? Would you rather play the monkey's bum or the Dragon? I'd play it
or the Berlin Wall.
Berlin Wall, exactly, or the any other. The Dragon's a cool name, but it was made popular by Chris Ward.
Orangutan.
Orangutan's quite cool. I like that as well. Yeah, definitely.
Probably not as sound as the Dragon, though.
Yeah, probably not. Recently, English players. I think most English players have played the Dragon. Actually, Gawain Jones.
Gawain Jones was, I was just going to say, written a book.
Brilliant book, apparently. Even Karyakin said that he...
was the last book he'd read during an interview a few months ago.
So if you want to learn the Dragon, get Gawain Jones's book, who's an exceptionally strong English Grandmaster. But Gawain told me that he plays the Dragon when he wants to draw, and he plays the Caro-Kann when he wants to win. Which is quite interesting because it's so theoretical now, the Dragon, and of course Peter Leko is forced to play really to get an advantage on the sharp lines. I actually play this little move which I've written a book on. I've called this the Drag Adorf.
Okay.
It's like a mix between the Nyadorf and the Dragon. Hence,
a video series you did?
I did a video series as well, and I've also got a video that you can buy on this opening as well, just in case you want to help the fund. But Bishop G7, F3, this is all the standard stuff. Castles, Queen D2, standard stuff. White wants to go Bishop H6, throw Harry up the board and checkmate the Black King. Knight C6, and now well, there's two main moves here. There's either bishop c4, which was favoured by Bobby Fischer. This stops d5, or there's the move white plays, castles queenside. And castle queenside seems to be the trendier line to play now. And now Lawrence plays, I believe, quite... okay, no, this is all right. So d5, the main theoretical response here. I used to play bishop d7 here, which was recommended in one of Chris Ward's books, but it's pretty much busted now, this move, bishop d7. You lose too much time. I mean, g4, rook c8, h4, knight e5, h5 is the way I used to play as a black, but look how scary this already looks. I mean, you're in danger of just getting checkmated with bishop to h6 here. Standard move. Harry is opening up the rook towards the black king. So d5 has always been the main move for black, really. And now there's a couple of options here. Now the standard way to play this is queen e1. I've always thought was a good move, I have to say. But the standard way to play this is to, I always look at this on the black side, so it's quite weird looking at it from this side, is to take here, and let me get this right, yeah, take here, and now not grab this pawn here, because white can win a pawn, but that's very risky. Mickey Adams played this a couple of times, but lost to Tiviakov, I think. You don't grab another pawn, because you cast on opposite sides, pawn's not that important. The standard move here is bishop d4, and this is become the main line. Queen to e1 is a slightly not main line, but it's actually, I think, a very good idea, because look, Bologon gives it in one of his books, yeah, in a DVD, right? Okay, and yeah, I mean, it's certainly not a bad idea. Queen e1, it just opens up the rook against the black queen. Now again, black can play either the move play, which is the main move, or e6 here, but e5, the most aggressive move. Great. And now
here all the moves were played very quickly up until now, so both players following theory, also following their preparation. Yeah.
Pawn takes d5, knight takes d5, bishop c4, bishop e6, king b1. This is all very normal stuff. Rook e8. Now knight to e4. I've seen this position being reached a number of times, and now queen c7. I think Lawrence would be quite happy with this in a way. It's a normal position here, normal kind of position here, double-edged position, because you've got opposite side castling. So you have to give credit to Lawrence for playing this. Lawrence going into this is good. He's taking some risks, isn't he? And I'm just thinking, I mean, you've got this open B file to try and tackle on. Happy days. If you can combine that with f5 and e4, opening up the bishop towards b2, very happy days. Obviously, it's not all bad for white, and I'm sure this position has been played probably, well, at least hundreds of times. White's got stuff with the h-pawn coming up, and then the queen coming to h4, behind the h-pawn, starting an attack. Also, stuff with knight g5 at the right moment. So it's a very interesting position. And it's going to be very interesting, again, to see how this game develops. But still, we're just in the opening stages, so I think we should come back to this one a little bit later on.
I want to go to a game by a player who impressed us a lot yesterday, and that's Jordan van Foreest.
Jordan van Foreest. And Jordan had a brilliant result drawing with Nakamura, but his little brother yesterday, who is Lucas van Foreest, actually beat Wang Hao yesterday, and Wang Hao is having a bye today, so Wang Hao is only on 1.5 out of 4. Yeah, it's having a pretty torrid time.
But he's the sort of player, I wouldn't be too surprised if he just won his last 5 games.
Yeah,
so
he'd probably be favourite to win every game, won't he? So you'd imagine he could do the business.
So let's go to Jordan. There he is on top, 4th from the top, playing against Fressinet from France. What do we have here? Scotch. Oh, we haven't seen a Scotch yet.
Good stuff. Yeah. So we see a Scotch, and that is with d4. And this is, I think, going to come back in popularity, because it was always one of Kasparov's main choices, and people are nepping on Itchy. That's why I had to say it like that, because I know he's just your face as well.
You don't know any other way to say it.
Jan. And he's brought it back, made it popular again as well. And okay, so takes, knight takes, and now there's two main moves here. There's either bishop, knight to f6, which is the way that well, this is one of the main moves and often played. And here I think white should take on b6 and go e5. So you can play it with knight to f6, or the other main move is really bishop c5. I mean, it's funny moves here. You can go bishop b4 check, and you can even go some crazy move, queen h4, but I don't believe in a number of these lines. Bishop c5 is standard. Bishop e3, queen f6, and this is just pressurizing this pawn.
This is actually what I play. So c3, knight e7, and g3.
You play this as white? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
And g3 is a move that's not as well known as the other main move, I think, is bishop c4.
Yep.
So I used to play bishop c4, but then I had a look at this g3 thing, and the point is if black doesn't play d5. So a lot of times when I play this, because I play it rarely, but if the opponents don't know it, you tend to play d6 rather than d5, which is also from my experience. And then you just get a pleasant position, but d5 is the critical move. And it's interesting, Laurent spent 15 minutes on this d5 move, so I guess this might have caught him by surprise.
g3, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Because it's not very often
Do you know the theory after d5 at all then?
Bishop, I mean,
yep.
I think Jordan probably knows better than me,
Sure,
so
sure.
he will show us, but yeah, this is normal.
This is all theory, yeah?
Yeah, but I think it's important that black plays d5 after g3.
Okay. So black takes there, castles. And of course, white would, I guess, want to take here with the knight rather than the bishop.
Yep.
You know, because you take with the bishop, you lose a bit of coordination. Don't really want to move that bishop on g2. So castles, knight d2, aiming to just obviously take that one with the knight. Bishop takes d4, knight takes e4, wins a useful tempo. Looks very symmetrical, this position here. I mean, let's have a look. Bishop, queen, g6. And now, well, if you go bishop takes d4, that's kind of like too symmetrical, isn't it? I mean, you're going to get this.
And you're going to get this isolated pawn we're talking about.
Yeah, I could.
You can take with the queen.
Maybe you can go rook d8 though and do it this way, yeah, and then get the isolated pawn. Yeah, so white's kind of relying on two bishops here, isn't he? So c takes d4, and you have got an isolated pawn anyway.
Yeah, but you have the bishop pair.
You have the bishop pair, yeah. So have you had this kind of structure in any of your games?
Well, as I said, I don't play this. I try to switch it up because if you stick to just the same opening, but and also, as you said, there are other options than knight c5. So it's quite rare you get to the because there are also lines with an early queen g6 for black.
Right.
So it's quite rare you get to this. But the last time I played this was at the Differentiale, actually a few months back, and my opponent played d6. Because if you don't know it as black,
d6 is a very normal move to play,
yeah. Looks more risk-free.
Yeah, okay. So bishop e6, knight c3. So white is clearly trying to fight for control of the d5 square. This is important. And as Fiona said, this pawn here is one of the main points of this position. This is an isolated pawn. We've talked about it yesterday. It can't be supported by another white pawn. There's no pawn next to it on either side on the c file or e file. So bless you. So it's isolated. Normally an isolated pawn can become weak, and it becomes a lot weaker in the ending. When you have an isolated pawn, white has the isolated pawn, you want to keep pieces on the board. When you're playing against it, you want to swap pieces off. So this is an definitely one of the most important things about this position. And it was actually Spassky who said about the isolated pawn. He basically said that it's not actually when you're playing against it. So if you're playing from the black point of view here, it's not the pawn which is the weakness. It's the square in front of the pawn. So this square here, Spassky actually said, was the main problem with an isolated pawn. That normally black can plonk a piece here. Eventually you can see that he can get great control of this square, leave a piece there, and white can never attack that square with a pawn. So it's the square in front of the isolated pawn. We might see that at some point. So rook d8, okay, that rook makes sense as well. and now it is Jordan to play. I mean, his bishop on e3 doesn't look excellent to me at the moment.
He will need to find a way to somehow free his position and get the bishop here playing, but
yeah,
it's true at the moment.
He seems to like isolated pawns, because he had exactly the same thing yesterday against Hikaru. You know, actually, we're talking about his game yesterday, and we were talking about isolated pawns. We're talking about his game today again, and he's got isolated pawn today, so he's missed the isolation.
So I was just looking at d5. I think right
maybe.
now it doesn't. I guess there's just knight b4 probably.
Okay. We can. You've got some ideas of queen a4, grabbing some queenside pawns here.
I guess d5 must be the critical move, because you need to open up the position.
I mean, queen here. We can show this. I'm thinking here, knight has to move. Why not take a pawn? I guess we can go knight takes knight, and then queen takes here. But this is probably absolutely fine for black.
Yeah.
Queen takes e3, and is this any advantage here?
No, I don't think so.
Just c6, blunting the bishop out. No, of course not. It's just equal, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, I think so. So yeah.
Okay, so let's quickly check back with our top board. And then we will go on a quick break, and we'll be back with all the other top boards.
Sure. So the top board, the only 2 players in the competition on 3 points, and you have Mr. Fire on the board, Alexei Shirov against the young Indian Vidit, and this will not be the first time we're going to hear about Vidit. Queen d7, last position we're on, and now white captures on d5, so a normal move, and Vidit now plays a move which I wouldn't be my first choice, but of course he's so well prepared. I'm sure he's analysed this one. I mean, it looks natural to take with a pawn, doesn't it? I mean, I would want to take with a pawn here, definitely. But he's gone knight takes d5. And
after 9 seconds. So
after 9 seconds, okay.
Unlikely he didn't notice.
So clearly a theory. And now we can see the tournament organiser there, by the way, Alan, just with his bottle of Coke, looking at the top board game, and he's one of the main guys to thank for making this tournament all possible. And there's some other guy there's just come into the playing hall as well. So that is not the tournament organiser there, probably a player there. But Alan there, yeah, we've got to thank him a lot, because without him, this tournament and everything really just wouldn't have been possible. So he's really done a great thing. And
he's even playing in the I'm not sure he's playing today, but he's playing as a filler when there's an uneven, an odd number of players on a day. So he's been playing for the last 2 days. And great guy. Good guy.
Okay, so yeah, this is a bit strange. This knight takes, but it's theory. It shows you've got to know your theory at this level. Shirov naturally takes on f5, and now pawn takes f5, and you probably don't want to allow knight takes e3. So bishop d4, and this also has a crafty little idea. I mean, one of the moves I'd always be watching out for e6 here. Always, at some points you can't take your queen because there's a rook e1. E6, a typical Shirov-like blow, opening up lines, attacking.
But I guess you got to be careful before you play a move like e6, because then you allow the bishop to come to d6. So
as well, you
need to.
You don't want this to get to this nice square, do you? I suppose the main positive thing with black's position at the moment is the knight on d5. That's a good piece, but I can also swap that off with knight c3. I mean, just instinctively, I don't like this for black, but I mean, maybe I'm wrong in thinking that. Let's have a look. Rook b8, so he's not really worried about his king either. If I was playing Shirov, I'd want my king castle by now. I wouldn't want it in the middle of the board still. Shirov just goes knight c3, so he gets rid of this knight, or he's going to.
But he's going to probably bring his knight to e6, I guess.
Knight to c7, coming to e6 there. We just saw Tanya having a bit of a laugh there. I don't know why at the board. Maybe not sure why.
I missed it.
Yeah, she was giggling at the board. That's Tanya Sachdev. Okay, so this makes more sense. So the knight gets to e6. You do consolidate a lot of things. It's not that bad for black, of course. Knight e2, clever move, because the knight is now going to come and try to fight that knight on e6. I guess knight e6. Bishop also has a square because the knight's moved away. So bishop c3. Now c5. And
I'm struggling. Okay, so you're just taking away the d4 square? Because I was thinking the bishop might go there someday, but
to c5,
clearly
yeah.
not. Yeah.
I think you know, if black can go bishop e7 castles at some stage, black should be fine with this knight here. But you know, there's even positional problems here for black, that these two pawns, you know, they're quite weak in some positions. The structure on the plus side, black has active compensation on the open files of those pawns. But I mean, okay, Shirov just goes knight g3 here. He's not even worried about exchange of queens because he can start playing against these pawns.
I've actually been looking at f4 for a while now. Can I play f4 now? But then I give you e4. No, I don't want to do that, I guess. Don't want to let your knight come to e4.
Probably not. I mean, I think you have to go...
Yeah, I was just wondering, can I play g6?
g6.
And then possibly I can put my bishop to g7 or h6. And play h5.
h5, yeah, and just get some stuff going over there. I mean, just put it somewhere. Even e7 is a very solid square. Yeah. But I mean, I've got rook coming to d1 quickly here. I mean, let's say I move my queen somewhere and go rook d1. Where do I want to put my queen?
I don't understand why. Is it so bad for white to swap queens?
No, maybe even swapping queens, because black could have taken the queen last move. Maybe black should take the queen, actually, because... Let's have a look. So taking queen. So I suppose the issue is here the king gets to c6, and that could be a good square. Like, let's say check, king c6. I mean, what's this like? I mean, it looks like black. If black can bishop e7,
yeah, you have to put. Yeah.
I think it's all right, isn't it? I think. Yeah. I mean, even here, I'm not entirely convinced. The knight on g3 is peculiar, because if the knight, it's not a very good piece here at the moment, because it doesn't really have any squares to go to. So I'm wondering what Shirov's idea is. I think it might just be to go like queen e2 or queen f3. Why don't we just move this and go rook d1? If I go here, for example, I can attack a6. I suppose you've got queen b5 though. Do I want to put that?
He just played queen f3.
Queen f3, okay, so that's the other square. So he's gone g6, queen f3, yeah, okay. Yeah. And he just wants to go rook d1, very simple. And I mean, he's not going to...
I think Philip needs to hurry up with getting his king to safety.
Yeah, and even positionally speaking, it could be a little bit iffy. I think Shirov should have a nice stable edge here, actually, to be honest. So, I prefer Shirov's position here.
So do I. Right, so I think that concludes part 1 of today's show. We're going to go on a very quick break, and then we will get back to you with the action from all the other top boards, including, of course, our top 3 seeds, Nakamura, Caruana, and Wesley So. So stay tuned, and we'll see you in 10 minutes.
I wouldn't dare consider myself a Manxman. I'm what here is called a stopover. The Isle of Man's definitely home for me now. In the middle of the 19th century, the island really began to try and grow its tourist trade. They chose to establish a steam railway. The sight, the smell and the sound of that steam railway is very evocative. The Great Laxey Wheel, or the Lady Isabella as she's called, is a massive working water wheel designed to pump water out of the deep mines. It's now the largest working water wheel in the world. Peel Castle's on an island called St Patrick's Isle, and the castle has a history of religious settlement and defence that makes a real strange mixture in the buildings that you see. The whole island itself, though, St Patrick's Isle, is enclosed by a curtain wall, a wall that goes all the way round it. What's special to me about the island is it's all sorts of different places in one. It's all sorts of different people. In a sense, it's the whole world in a tiny place.
Chess.com is about playing. At any moment, there are thousands of people from around the world playing on Chess.com. So whether you're a total beginner or a grandmaster, you'll find a game quickly with someone at your level. You can play at any pace, from 1-minute bullet to 5-minute blitz to 60-minute games. Or you can play more relaxed games where you have several days to make your move. There are tournaments starting every few minutes, or you can play against our customizable coaching computer. Chess.com is for learning. Chess isn't just about playing, it's about getting better. Chess.com puts the best training tools at your fingertips. Sharpen your game with over 50,000 tactics puzzles. Improve your strategy with training videos by top grandmasters. Get instant feedback after your games with real-time computer analysis. Regardless of where you're at now, you can take your game to the next level. Chess.com is for sharing. Join the community where you can discuss chess ideas in the forums and follow the latest chess news. Or join a club with friends and play in a league against other clubs. You can find all this in your browser at home and at work, or on the go with your phone or tablet. Signing up is free and easy. So what are you waiting for? Enjoy your game.
Hello and welcome back to the coverage of round 4 of the Isle of Man International Chess Tournament, sponsored by Chess.com and the Steinberg family. And we're still your hosts, Fiona and the one and only Simon Williams. So Simon, what happened during the break? What happened while we were away?
Yeah, well, it's quite interesting. We'll come to the games in a second, but we just had a gentleman join us in the commentary room I'd just like to mention very quickly. And he sat down unassuming on the chair, and when I went for a break, he said hello. And he told me he played for England in the Chess Olympiad in 1960-something in Havana, and his name was Owen Hindle. I've heard of him. And I just looked up some of his games. He actually played like the likes of Macau Tao. Unbelievable. He's 78 years old and he's just come over here. He's not playing, but he's come over to watch a bit of chess for a couple of days. So it's absolutely lovely. Yeah. You know, guys come all the way here. He played in the 60s a lot in the same teams like the likes of Penrose. Owen Hindle, like I said, is his name. And I saw he's beaten some of the most famous grandmasters around. He's played Tao, so it's just lovely to bump into people like that occasionally. So yeah.
And he's now being replaced here in the commentary room by tournament organizer and director Alan Ormsby. So a lot of pressure on us not to talk too much nonsense.
Oh dear! Right, we're in trouble. But yeah, I mean that's lovely. But let's get back to the top game. So we had a look at Shirov a second ago. So we'll now move on to
Board number 2.
And this is Salem versus Caruana. And in this game, knight d7 was the last position we looked after rook g3, g6. And
we were getting all carried away about ideas like rook g6 coming up.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it's a really exciting position. We vaguely thought about queen c2 with ideas of rook takes g6. But the other idea we also mentioned was knight to e4, and this looked like a very normal and standard idea to try and get that knight into that beautiful d6 square. So I think this is really up the street of the white player Salem. He loves unbalanced positions. Yes, white is a pawn down, but this is a typical dynamic kind of structure. And all credit to Fabiano as well, who has entered into this. You know, he's kind of gone into a position where his opponent will probably be happy. So what happened? Well, it went queen e7.
Oh, and just Mike Klein, who's listening into the show, is telling us that Owen Hindle actually won an individual bronze medal in the 1964 Olympiad as a reserve. Oh,
that's amazing. I mean, I don't know if he'd want to come up here, but so Owen Hindle just, he hasn't played chess, I checked, I think since 1970s or 80s. And he got the bronze medal in the Olympiad. Sorry, was it 1964? 1964. I mean, that's just amazing. I find that really unbelievable. And so, yeah, very special to bump into people like this. And, great stuff. And apparently that year, the Rolling Stones had only just started performing. So it was a while back, and they're pretty old now, aren't they? So,
Didn't you see the Stones in concert?
I did. I went to see the Rolling Stones in concert at Wembley 2 or 3 years ago with my brother, and for my birthday, which went on for a couple of days. So yes, it was quite a memorable night or two, shall we say. We actually went to a bar afterwards and we said that he was the drummer in the Stones, and a lot of people believed him because he's got quite long hair and he's very old. So it's like, yeah, that was amusing. I don't think I could pass for that, but unfortunately.
Maybe a ginger
drummer.
Yeah.
So,
ginger Mick Jagger.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'll get my jaw going. Okay, but here, very interesting. Bishop e2 played, and this is going to allow the king the f1 square. Fabiano not afraid at all. He goes knight to b6, and this makes the a4 pawn do something. This a pawn has to move, because otherwise you can't lose a second pawn. So, okay, white simply takes on b5, black recaptures, and now king f1, so you're sidestepping your king somewhere safer. Bishop d7, so defending this pawn in case of a knight d6 check, and now white does get his knight into d6. Bishop takes b4, queen takes b4, knight d6 check, incredibly.
King f8 is on the board.
And it is now Salem to move. So does he have enough compensation here? I mean, This idea he played of h4 and rook h3 is not an idea I know, but I'm looking at the clock times here.
Yeah.
They've both spent quite a bit of time, and
Lawrence Trent is looking at the position of his protégé. Do you have this word?
We do,
How do you pronounce it in English?
Well, I don't know how they pronounce it in English. I say protégé. So I don't know if that's the right word, protégé. But it's a French word, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think from the French language.
So I'm just wondering if I can create some havoc there on the king side. Can I possibly play h5 and then if you play g5, sacrifice somehow?
Love it. Love
but
it.
The thing is, I probably need to get my queen into, maybe start by playing queen c2 or queen c1. I'm not sure.
Okay. Maybe what here? Maybe
Yeah.
so.
I'm not sure. Do I want to put my queen to c1 or c2?
I suppose if we go here, we can consider ideas again of rook takes g6. We can consider them. I'm not saying that it's a good move or a bad move, but we can certainly consider this move, rook takes g6. I mean,
but my point was that if I play queen c1 and then later I want to play h5 and then sack on g5,
sack on g5,
and
right?
take with the queen.
Okay, that's a good idea as well. So queen c1, idea of h5, g5, knight takes g5. So that does also look like a good plan. Now, what would I do if I was Fabiano here? I'd really want to get rid of this knight on d6 because that looks like.
Would you consider just playing knight c8?
I would certainly consider knight c8 here. And the other thing, if I have my queen on c2, I might have a knight takes f7. So this knight c8 is probably a good move here. I mean, I can play something weird like rook a6.
I was just thinking, if we play queen c2, are we preparing a knight
f7?
f7?
Yeah. Yeah. So we could go queen c2. Yeah, this looks very logical. And yeah, now I think knight takes f7 is probably a threat, isn't it?
Although I'm not sure
because we could pick up this rook eventually. For example, let's say you go knight c8 again. Then I think we can go knight takes f7. Queen takes g6 check, and now queen to g7 check, and yeah, we win the rook on h8. But that's only, yeah, okay. So queen c2 looks very logical. At least we're creating a concrete threat here of knight takes f7, and maybe.
And funnily in the chat, Chanda and Gupta just said knight takes f7 and then queen takes g6. So just the second we were looking at this.
Yeah. So queen c2, very logical move. And black needs to defend against this threat. So what would black do here to defend? It's one of those positions where you really have to have a lot of confidence with black to play it because, you know, it can easily go wrong. I mean...
So what does black do now after queen c2?
I don't know at the moment. I'm not sure.
Maybe rook g8?
I was thinking
it doesn't look great, does it? But
no, I thought if here now we could play h5.
And after g5 maybe
queen h7. Bring it in and threaten mate in one as well.
And also hitting the h6 pawn.
This must be good for white.
I think this is close to winning already.
Probably. Yeah. So queen c2. What would Fabiano play against this quite logical move, queen c2, threatening to take?
Go back one move.
Yeah. Black needs to find a good move here. I mean, other moves I'm considering here is black something like queen b3, but I mean, white can at least get the pawn back there.
In the worst case, you can take.
You can take the pawn and now take on b5, and this should be okay. I mean, it might be a bailout move, queen b3, if you get really scared.
But then, can I play instead of queen c2? Can I play queen b1?
Yes, queen b1 was the other option to just stop that as a possibility totally. And now maybe c3. Let's try c3 to see if I can swap off queens like this somehow.
Okay. And if I take on f7?
Take on f7 now. Well, this is getting insane, isn't it? I take on b2 maybe. I mean, it's so much fun, this game. I mean, we should move over to the other games, but I really want to stay with this game forever because it's so much fun. And also, the other reason I'm really interested in this game is because I suppose I'm quite similar to Salem in a number of regards. I play similar chess and I play these structures very often. So I'm going to be... Is there an F... Okay, one last thing I've just noted if here, is there... Oh, I don't know about F. No, there's not. Of course not. No, oh God, that's probably the worst move on the board. Well, there is a knight e7 worst case scenario. Maybe that's a good defensive move. Defending and bringing the knight to f5. That might be just a good defensive move. And I'm sure the computer says this is better for black. You know what computers like. So, okay, should we move on?
Let's move on. Let's go to Wesley So, maybe?
Yep, let's do that. So.
Board 3.
Okay.
Actually, I was in the playing hall during our break, and I noticed he turned his chair around to...
Again?
90
right.
degree turn.
Well, if it keeps him comfortable. We all hear about Tony Miles.
Yeah.
You know, Tony Miles actually, didn't he play one game? This is the first ever British Grandmaster, Tony Miles, and I believe he played one game lying on a bed. He wheeled a bed or something into a playing hall.
But he was having back problems.
He was having back problems apparently, so so he lied on the bed and played a game of chess.
That's quite a funny photo if we can manage to bring that up.
Hopefully we'll get that at some point, and Miles on this bed playing. And have you? I mean, that would be perfect, I'd imagine. Sorry, I was going to say for you, Fiona. I know you just told me you had a long sleep last night, but I can imagine you playing on a bed. You know, just like I quite like that as well. You know, just wheel me out of my room in a bed and just leave me there, and let me play some moves on my bed. Maybe with the TV on in the background, you know. So that sounds ideal. So we'll try to look for that picture, but let's go on to this game first. So this is Julio versus Wesley So, and we had.
Yeah, that's true. Mike is pointing out that. So he was playing lying down, and his opponent was playing standing up out of protest.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh okay. So I wonder who Tony Miles' opponent was in that game. I'm sure we'll get the information on that. So. I mean, I think I'd be a bit off-put if my opponent turned up in a bed, you know, and I didn't expect it. I'd be like, hang on a minute, that's not fair. Why is he in a bed and I'm sitting here? I actually find some people quite disrespectful when they stand up. And I had one guy, he was standing up the whole game, and there's Tony Miles. I think that is a bed behind him.
You can't quite see, but he's lying on his stomach.
Yeah.
So you can't quite see it, but
yeah, there he is.
You get the idea.
Yeah, he was a bit of an individual, old Tony, wasn't he? So, I mean, have you ever had this when you're playing someone, they just stand up, they won't sit down, and they just hover, and then, no, I find it very off-putting anyway.
I don't mind that, but I mind it if I play a move and they come and they don't even sit down, they just play their move while standing and walk off again.
Yeah, obviously that's
I don't like that.
Very disrespectful. Yeah. So, okay, so
anyway,
knight a4, last move we saw, and Julio playing this. I would say older system against this setup where you just try to take control of the c5 square. So you try to swap off a bishop or just get your knight there straight away. And now Wesley's gone knight d4. You can see that Wesley's rearranged his rook and bishop here. And that's because he's anticipating a capture on d4 when his rook will be well placed to hit e2. And this is a variation that Karpov used with colours reversed quite often against the dragon. The knight does come into c5, fantastic square, and now Wesley tries a5, gaining some useful space on there and stopping white from going b4. So white takes on d4, pawn takes, and now very interesting moves happening here. This is really quite shocking because it's such a calm position. Okay, well, the next move is knight b3, and
here comes
Gary. Here he comes, g5.
Yeah, out of the blue.
Out of the blue, yeah, really out of the blue. I mean, that's a really risky move to play when your king is there. I mean, that's a double-edged move. g5, wow, because okay, there's a threat to take the pawn on d4. This is white's idea. It's quite hard to defend that pawn. And I guess you could go g6, and then if you take on d4, black's idea is bishop g7, and you're going to try to win this pawn back. And if e3...
But I was wondering, can I play
e3?
knight b5?
Yeah, or e3 as well, actually, yeah. So you have to go g5.
But my idea is after knight b5, and then if you do something about c7, I can just come back to...
c3.
Because I thought if I play e3, I might weaken d3. I don't know.
I think knight b5 is a very good move, yeah. And this is just good. And if c6, knight c3, it's a safe pawn. And also, I mean, e3 might be okay as well because you are just a pawn up. So in actual fact, this is quite an interesting manoeuvre that White's done. The only way to defend this pawn, you can't just go pawn down, can you? Is to play g5. That's why he's played it. He can't defend a pawn any other way, except from playing g5, because now the idea is, it's quite weird. This is why he's gone these pawns here. If this knight takes, you go a4, and you undermine the knight on d4. And of course, if the other knight takes, you go g4, and you undermine the knight on d4. But it's a very double-edged move. So queen d2, attacking that pawn. The pawn marches bravely forwards, g4, and now knight to h4. And
very strange position.
Very strange position, but I have to say, I mean, I like White's position.
I think if White could play one more move, if he could put his bishop to e4 now, I'd be very happy.
Put his bishop to e4 and control the square, yeah.
Basically, what I'm wondering is if Black can play f5, but it might be a bit too much anyway.
Let's see, so f5.
Just to get the knight out of play.
Yep.
But you are weakening your king.
Again, even more, aren't you here? I mean, my knight could...
Maybe knight c5?
My knight, yeah, the knight's done its damage on b3. Let's bring it back. I suppose the critical line for Fiona would be bishop e7 here, trying to take advantage of the knight here. This would be the one critical move. I think Black, it looks like Wesley's about to move, but this would be the move I'm thinking Black wants to play, you know, to try to make use of. Okay, he hasn't played that. Instead, he has gone rook e5, and rook e5 is trying to control this knight, stopping the knight coming in there. So rook e5, stopping knight to c5. There's a lot of weaknesses around the Black king. I suppose you can cover them with bishop g7, but long-term wise, they could become very prominent.
Yeah, I like White here.
I like White. I think it looks like White should have pretty decent play, but Wesley's probably all right as well here. But it's long-term problems.
We'll come back to it.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, another player who seems to not be winning again today is I keep saying second seed, but he is the third seed, Hikaru Nakamura. And while I let you look up that game, I'll share some final random information about Tony Miles. So the tournament where he was lying down was the 1985 Interpolis tournament, and some players protested. One of them was Zinjashvili, who said he would be playing up. And guess who played against Tony Miles in that event? Romanishin, Oleg Romanishin, who is playing here in the Isle of Man this year. So
yeah, Romanishin, unbelievable, legends playing. Okay, I mean, we could very quickly go through the moves, but to be honest, it's not that exciting. So shall we even bother?
Let's very quickly run through them.
Okay, no, I'm joking. All right. Well, the thing is, after e3, Hikaru's gone knight e4, and the thing, I'm very surprised Hikaru's playing this, Fiona, because this is the Lasker.
So he didn't play b6.
No, he didn't, as we thought.
Yeah.
He went knight e4. This is the Lasker variation, and this whole variation has got an incredibly drawing reputation. It's meant to be a line you play as Black. There we have a tweet, by the way, and he is on the group of 2 points out of 3, and he's playing against Bachmann, and he is a legend of chess. I saw him earlier in the tournament and said hello to him, and he's a really nice guy as well. But we'll try to have a look at his game briefly if we get a chance at some point. It's good to see how these legends, old legends are getting on. And, well, knight to e4, I'm just surprised Hikaru's playing this line, which has a drawing reputation. He's playing a good player, Grandelius, your good friend, and he's gone for knight e4, which just has a drawing reputation. Very hard to win with this Black when Hikaru needs to win. So, okay, this is now all pretty normal. Rook c1, main line here, bishop e2. The reason it has such a drawing reputation, Fiona, is because everything gets swapped off. I mean, look at all the pieces coming off the board. Knight d7 castles, b6, you've got to get your bishop out. And now c5, bishop e4, this has all been played numerous times before. Queen c2, knight here, and now White even creates some structural damages here to the Black pawn structure, because now Black has a weakness on c5. This pawn is very weak. b3, bishop b7, queen f4, and Hikaru swaps off there as well, And, well, I mean, let's just get up to date with the current position. Queen d6, a couple more moves have been played, I believe.
Yeah, no, I think that's the position on the board.
It looks like there's a rook on d8
there is a
somehow,
rook on
isn't there?
d8,
I
yeah.
just okay, h3, and then
rook d8.
I mean, I don't think he'd be happy with this, but why did he play this opening?
Yeah.
Why did he play this opening? If you're going to play this opening, you've got to expect a position like this where you might just be slightly worse.
I guess white can, if he wants, take on d2 and take on c5, and I don't think it's going to be a very long game, is it?
Yeah, I mean, you're right, actually. If I just want to draw, let's say I take...
I mean, I can also just take on c5 first, I guess.
Yeah, something like this, you mean?
And there Niels is coming back to the board. I'm very surprised because I don't think either of the players are really enjoying this game. I mean,
do you think
this is not their style. Like, okay, I understand Niels is a lot lower, 150 points lower weighted, but I think he was enjoying the game against Fabiano a lot more yesterday, although he was doing worse.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just got to play games you don't really enjoy.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to play styles you don't really want, and you just got to play them well so people don't play them against you in the future. You know, I mean, I would say here, white should be slightly better, maybe. I mean, I think white's slightly better because of this pawn. Maybe that's offset by Hikaru's control of the D file.
Yeah.
But to win this position against such a strong player as Grandilius, I just don't see it happening. I just can't see Hikaru doing it against him because he's no idiot.
I will bet you that this will be a draw within the hour.
I really owe you £2. Can I have the draw this time?
No.
No.
We can make a bet on the time. How soon?
Okay.
I say within the hour.
Okay, I'll say after the hour.
Okay.
Okay, what time's it now then?
3:25.
Okay, I'll give you until 4:20, yeah? 4:20, so
Okay,
people
that's a deal.
remember us. Remember us? Remind us, I think, is a 4:20. I think it'll be a draw after 4:20. And so rook d8 played, and okay, so Niels is just thinking what to play here. I mean, normally you can do moves like g3 and h4. It's just, I mean, there's not much going on, is there? There's just not much happening here. It probably is just an even position, so it's just surprising. It's just surprising, and I just don't see Hikaru winning this one.
No.
So he should have played something more aggressive, I think, in the opening if he wanted to try and win. He has got a big time advantage, so you've got to bear that in mind.
Yeah, but I don't think that's such a big deal here.
No. Let's.
Okay, so shall we move on?
Yeah.
Where do you want? Let's check in with David Howell, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's first check in with our friend Lawrence Trent, who's apparently they're still in the book, maybe honorarily so. What's the word? Inadvertently. Inadvertently.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. Inadvertently in theory still, and it's okay. This dragon. So Lawrence Trent is playing the dragon against Peter Lecco. So all credit to him. And we have this position, Queen C7 last time we saw. Bishop C5 now played, and this is all theory. I mean, I even noticed this theory. H6 is aiming to stop this move, so you can go F5.
Lawrence spent 15 minutes though on H6, which is somewhat surprising.
Right, it is a bit, yeah. Because you want to play F5 here, but you're running to Knight G5. Mm-hmm. This is the kind of move you want to play. Then E4. This is how you try to play this position as black to start attacking. So H6, stopping Knight there, but then G4, and this is all theory actually. Because now if you go F5, of course, it's much more risky because you've got this open line against your king, and that's not something you want in life. So instead of F5, Lawrence played Knight here. And this is certainly all theory. This is certainly all theory, I'm sure about that. I've seen exactly the same kind of plan many a times before. And they both spend a fair bit of time here on this position.
Do you know what Lawrence usually plays against E4? Does he usually play the dragon? Or was that a surprise?
I don't know. No, I don't know. I don't follow his games that much.
We will ask him.
We'll ask him.
He promised to come in to join the show someday, so we will ask him.
Yeah, we're trying to get him in. Definitely, hopefully today. I mean, if he gets a result today, I'm sure he'd be more than happy to come in and show us what happened. Knight to f4, this is certainly theory, and that's a lovely square for knight. I don't think this is going to be a major attacking game though. And last time I can recall this variation, it was meant to be slightly better for white, this position, because the knight on e4 is a fantastic piece, and these bishops are a bit more active, and it's quite hard for black to get this bishop any life because you've always got a pawn in the way. Okay, couple more moves being played now. So bishop d6 being played, and now queen b6. Are we going to see a draw here with bishop c5, queen c7, draw? No, I don't think so. No, because Peter Lico is a much higher rated player. He needs to try and win. It'll be unbelievable if he tries to go for a draw.
Okay, so I suggest we leave that one off for now, and we could go to board 8, where Arkady Naidic has come up with an interesting idea against Abhijit Gupta. Arkady Naidic, who should be well rested, seeing as he took half a point by yesterday. So let's see what he had in store for us today.
Okay, it doesn't look that interesting. Let's have a look.
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, the London
opening. You can't
opening.
be so judging after just 2 moves.
I saw the final position. So, I mean, it's the London system. The London system's all right, and it's a really good. This is a really good opening to play if you're lazy. Yeah, he had a whole day to prepare, and he plays the London system. That's unbelievable, because it's a really good opening to play if you're lazy, because you can play the same set of moves against any black setup. You know, you just put your bishop here, and it came popular in a tournament in London in 1923, maybe.
I'll take your word for it.
Okay, good. I don't know. This is when somewhere around there. So bishop f4, bishop g7, e3, castles, bishop e2, d6. I can remember Frank Marshall played a game. So I actually did a video lecture on this recently, where he went h4 in some position, and he went h5 and went crazy, and then took on h5 with his rook. But you don't see chess like that nowadays. So castles, and now a lot of people hate playing against the London system if they're a King's Indian player. I like the London system, I have to say, but it can lead to some boring positions. It depends how you play it, because if you play it like Arkady has played it here with castling kingside, I find it to be quite a long game. The way I like playing it is, and the way I recommend playing it is, is with the bishop on d3, and then with this very exciting move, as Frank Marshall played with h4. So if you play it like this, it can be incredibly interesting. Something like here in the Frank Marshall game went along this line here, knight takes here, rook takes, and now there was a typical Greek gift at some point with this. I don't know if it's in this position. This kind of thing happened. So if you play it like this, it can be a very brilliant opening. It's very easy to learn the London system. So it's great for club players, and it's very easy to play. 1922. What did I say? 1923. God, I was pretty close there. 1 year off. That's not bad, actually. So, okay. So anyway, if you play it like this, which
there's another coming my way.
Dear, oh dear. God, how did you know that? I bet you've been speaking to these guys.
I was talking to Niels during the break. I was like,
Niels, come
I'm
and have a draw.
I'm going to make another draw, another bet with Simon.
So I can win a pound.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't worry about any of the prize money here. I want to win my pounds. God, I've lost 3 bets to you so far. I think you sneakily getting me into these bets. So that was a bit of a disappointing game, though, wasn't it?
I could have said within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Would have been fine.
Yeah. So it's a...
Yeah, so a draw on board 4 between Hikaru Nakamura and Niels Guandelius. Not much happened in that game, we have to say, but okay.
Yeah.
It's getting halfway to the tournament. Maybe Hikaru, he was black. Niels is a very strong player. I'm not suggesting Hikaru didn't want to try anything, but he played this opening and not much happened. Okay, quick draw with the black pieces. Get, sort of half a rest day.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, okay, it's just a bit
surprising.
Still
many games to go.
Surprising.
He will have the white pieces tomorrow. Yeah.
Not the end of the world, I guess. Yeah. And, well, I mean, great for Niels, who's played Fabiano and Hikaru in 2 rounds. He's had 2 draws, so brilliant. Now, when I play the King's Indian and play against this slow London system where white castles, the way I play the London was h4, and I have done some videos on this, and it can be very interesting then. And that's the way I recommend playing it. But against this line with castles, I would say a very good move for black here is, well, this knight bd7 is a normal move, trying to prepare e5. It's not a bad idea, but the way I play against this is to move the other knight here.
Didn't you say some days ago someone played this move and you're like, what the hell is
that
this
was in a
player
different position.
doing?
That was in a different position. That was yesterday, and that was Merry against
Wesley So.
Wesley So, yeah. Yeah. Similar idea, but this makes a lot more sense here because I'm forcing through e5. Because I've opened my bishops, there's no way you can stop e5. I'm going to go e5 and f5, and I can have a lot of fun here on the king's side. So that's the way I play it anyway. I mean,
Let's just quickly have a look at what happened in the game.
So queen e8 is another way to play e5. So you get e5 in, and now knight to a3 is actually a move of Spielman's. This was first played by, I think it was first played by Spielman versus McShane in the 4NCL about 13 years ago, actually. I know that because I was just looking at the game a while back when preparing for these London game systems, and it's a Spielman idea to make it really annoying because the knight's trying to come in there in a lot of positions, and also it can pressurize the center like this. So it's a really interesting idea. So black takes on d4 and now moves the queen back. So, you know, this is now going to allow white to get a big center. And you can see the London system is very easy to play. So it is for lazy people. It works very well for lazy people. So maybe I should start playing this. Rook e8, bishop d3. White has a little bit more space. Knight to f8. Need to get the bishop on c8 out. The knight comes to b5. Okay, that's only coming there to come back into the center. Black's lost a lot of time. Bishop d7, it comes back into the center. Queen c8, black is cramped. Black is certainly cramped here. Knight d5.
And I think this is the interesting idea Mike was talking about earlier, to allow black to take on d5 and let him create double isolated pawns.
Yep, definitely. So in the game...
Which he didn't do.
He didn't do that. So let's have a look what happened if he did take this. So if he did take on d5, these are, as you say, Fiona, doubled, bad, isolated, bad, but, you know, what are rules?
They are controlling a lot of squares.
Yeah, rules are only there to be broken, aren't they? And yeah, they control this very important e6 square, so they stop a piece coming to e6. And I think, very importantly, you have this open c file to attack along. So simply rook c1, queen c2 is going to give you very, very strong attack here on that file, I'd have thought.
That's interesting. Arkady spent almost half an hour on knight d5, so it's an idea he must have come up with over the board.
Yeah, certainly. And the way things are developed here is actually quite strange because he's gone knight d5, which looks like an okay, but I mean, if you don't take this knight off, which I don't think black should do, we have to ask ourselves what's the point of this move. And because generally when you have more space, white has more space, I keep mentioning this, you don't want to exchange pieces because you allow your opponent with a cramped position to unravel. So a move like this seems to indicate that white wants to exchange pieces when maybe he shouldn't be trying to do that. And always in the London system, this little bishop here is such a pain. It's such a pain. It really is an annoying piece. It's really a really strong piece in the London system. But okay, knight e6 played. Black doesn't want to take that knight for obvious reasons. And white connects his rook, queen d2. The queen comes back to d8. Both sides sort of maneuvering about very subtly. And now the knight comes back to c3. So very, very strange maneuvers. But queen e7 played, and I think black's plan is now to go queen f8 and maybe even go bishop to h6 to try to gain the f4 square. This is a plan which has been seen used quite often. You know, get the bishop there, try to control f4, maybe put a bishop or knight on that square. But I think Arkady should be able to stop this plan somehow. And he has a nice space advantage. These two pawns, I'd say his position is quite good. But how does he stop that plan? Can he stop that plan? I mean, I could go d5 at the right moment. But if I go d5 straight away, I do allow you to come to c5. Not sure if I want to give you that square so easily. Maybe it's okay.
I suggest we let Arkady figure this out and we go back to board 2, where the game between Salem and Caruana is still very wild, apparently.
Good. Well, this was certainly one of the most interesting games of the round, and we were wondering what Salim was going to play here. And we were looking at Queen C2, weren't we? But he's gone for Knight E1, Fiona. Knight E1. So, okay. And
so what is the idea? I guess the knight is being rerouted.
I think
Where
two,
to?
yeah. I think also you're clearing the f3 square for either a rook or ideally, it'd be lovely to get the queen there, wouldn't it? But you have to get the bishop out of the way then as well. I'm not sure how the bishop gets out of the way in this position here. I mean, the first question is, can you take that pawn? Can you take another pawn?
Looks very... I mean, in the worst case, I have rook b1, don't I?
Rook b1
and I can take on b5.
And you have at least a draw, I think, as well. So
yeah, no, I don't think black can take that pawn.
No, so we have to make sure he can't, first of all. If you can't take the pawn, then you are going to go knight c2, and that queen is in real trouble. That queen's in trouble. Where's the queen go after knight c2? So it's not just the queen is, because the knight stops the queen from retreating. That's quite a crafty little move there, isn't it? Is black in trouble here? Is black actually in trouble? I mean, it could be true that black's in some trouble.
Now you say that I mean,
how do you save the queen?
Looks quite uncomfortable.
I just don't see how you save the queen. I mean, maybe you have to take on b2.
Yeah, I was going to say, let's have another look at queen b2.
And I guess you go rook b1, but even okay, rook b1 has to be correct. Now I'm just thinking about knight c3 here, but then I can take. Okay, let's show this on the board. Knight c3, and then I can win a piece. I take here.
Yeah, but then you have 2 pawns, and 2 dangerous. I mean, you have 3 dangerous pawns there on the.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm just wondering how dangerous they are. Because b5 is attacked, and they're stopped at this. They're not moving. They're immobile at the moment. But I mean, you can go a6 here.
Yeah, but it's not the move you want to
it's
play.
Not very fluid, the pawns. But then you've got knight d5 coming, and if you get knight d5, c3, b4, they're starting to move, aren't they? So maybe. I don't really believe this though, because it's only 2 pawns, and I think I just go here and I could be able to blockade them. Knight here. As long as I get rid of that knight, let's say knight e3, and I swap that one off. It shouldn't be good enough.
Yeah,
it's
I agree with you, because the knight on d6 is really strong as well, and you can't really get rid of that knight.
Well, I mean, what do you think Fabiano looks like here? I mean, he's played this very sharp line. He's look at his time as well. He's. I
was just going to say that, like yesterday, if. He might find himself in some serious time trouble. Yeah.
But what's he do after? I don't know what he does after this knight e1. Okay, so queen takes b2, rook b1. He probably has to play queen a2, allowing already a draw here. Allowing a draw immediately. Unless white has some way... Well, actually here, you could just go... You could play for a win. I mean, why don't play for a win with white? Go knight here, and now I've got a threat of rook a3, trapping the queen, and also some positions knight here. The very funny thing here, your queen can try to run away, but it can't because it's not running anywhere here. And I think I've got knight b4 now. I don't know. This is. Oh no, I haven't, because your knight captures that. Sorry. Yeah. So maybe.
And after rook a1, you have knight
a4. That's probably a good way to defend, isn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe he has to take on b2, because if you don't take on b2, I just don't. I think this is just coming anyway. And it's going to get the queen is in serious trouble. c3 is the only other move I can think of here.
The question is, does white have more than a draw after queen takes b2?
Yeah, so queen takes b2, is there more than a draw? That is a good question. Knight c2, knight c3, I think just about works. Maybe. I'm not even sure there. Does that work? I've got queen d2. Well, I think there's certainly a lot of danger here for Fabiano. I mean, a lot of these lines look scary. I mean, let's say even here straight away, first, because now I threaten to win this queen as I did before. If knight c3, probably forced. Is there a good option here? I mean, I nearly trap your queen if I take it and go rook a3, but you have the queen back then. Because a lot of times I can suddenly decide to attack you as well.
So if I take on c3?
Take on c3, queen takes c3.
Knight e4?
Knight e4,
Wait.
okay.
But,
So always got b2.
yeah.
Always got b2 here. Just about.
Okay, let's leave this for
Okay.
now. Go back to our top board, and we'll let Fabiano think about this. But I like the way White has played this.
Knight e1 is a very clever move.
Yeah.
Very clever move from White there. And I actually, it looks like Black is should be a bit scared there actually. Okay, so board one is the two leaders of the competition,
And the queens have come off.
right, g6, queen f3. So these are the only two players on maximum points, the only two players on 3 points, and not going to be much fire on the board today from Shirov, I think, after Queen Salim was going to play here. And we were looking at Queen c2, weren't we? But he's gone for Knight e1, Fiona. Knight e1. So, okay. And
So what is the idea? Where does, I guess the knight is being rerouted.
I think too
Where
much,
to?
yeah. I think also you're clearing the
way.
f3 square for either a rook or ideally,
queen.
it'd be lovely to get the queen there, wouldn't it? But you have to get the bishop out of the way then as well. I'm not sure how the bishop gets out of the way in this position here. I mean, the first question is, can you take that pawn? Can you take another pawn?
Looks very, I mean, in the worst case I have rook b1, don't I?
Rook b1
And I can take on b5
and you have at least a draw, I think, as well.
as well.
So
You know, I don't think Black can take that pawn.
no. So we have to make sure he can't, first of all. If you can't take the pawn, then you are going to go knight c2, and that queen is in real trouble. That queen's in trouble. Where's the queen go after knight c2? So it's not just the queen is, because the knight stops the queen from retreating. That's quite a crafty little move there, isn't it? Is Black in trouble here? Is Black actually in trouble? I mean, it could be true that Black's in some trouble.
Now you say that
I mean, how do you save the queen?
Looks quite uncomfortable.
I just don't see how you save the queen. I mean, maybe you have to take on b2.
Yeah, I was going
maybe
to say, let's have another look at queen b2.
And I guess you go rook b1, but even okay, rook b1 has to be correct. Now I'm just thinking about knight c3 here, but then I can take. Okay, let's show this on the board. Knight c3, and then I can win a piece. I take here.
Yeah, but then you have 2 pawns. And 2 dangerous. I mean, you have 3 dangerous pawns
yes.
there on the.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm just wondering how dangerous they are. Because b5 is attacked, and they're stopped at this. They're not moving. They're immobile at the moment. But I mean, you can go a6 here.
Yeah, but it's not the move you want to
It's
play.
Not very fluid, the pawns. But then you've got knight d5 coming, and if you get knight d5, c3, b4, they're starting to move, aren't they? So maybe. I don't really believe this though, because it's only 2 pawns, and I think I just go here and I could be able to blockade them. Knight here. As long as I get rid of that knight, let's say knight e3, and I swap that one off. It shouldn't be good enough.
Yeah,
it's
I agree with you, because the knight on d6 is really strong as well, and you can't really get rid of that knight.
Well, I mean, what do you think Fabiano looks like here? I mean, he's played this very sharp line. He's look at his time as well. He's.
I was just going to say that, like yesterday, if he might find himself in some serious time trouble.
Yeah. But what's he do after? I don't know what he does after this knight e1. Okay, so queen takes b2, rook b1. He probably has to play queen a2, allowing already a draw here, allowing a draw immediately, unless White has some way. Well, actually, here you could just go. You could play for a win. I mean, why don't play for a win with White? Go knight here, and now I've got a threat of rook a3, trapping the queen, and also some positions knight here. The very funny thing here, your queen can try to run away, but it can't because it hasn't. It's not running anywhere here. And I think I've got knight b4 now. I don't know. This is. Oh no, I haven't, because your knight captures that. Sorry.
Yeah.
So maybe.
And after rook a1, you have knight
a4. That's probably a good way to defend, isn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe he has to take on b2, because if you don't take on b2, I think this is just coming anyway, and it's going to get the queen is in serious trouble. c3 is the only other move I can think of here.
The question is, does white have more than a draw after queen takes b2?
Yeah, so queen takes b2, is there more than a draw? That is a good question. Knight c2, knight c3, I think just about works. Maybe. I'm not even sure there. Does that work? I've got queen d2. Well, I think there's certainly a lot of danger here for Fabiano. I mean, a lot of these lines look scary. I mean, let's say even here straight away, first, because now I threaten to win this queen as I did before. If knight c3, probably forced, is there a good option here? I mean, I nearly trap your queen if I take it and go rook a3, but you have the queen back then. Because a lot of times I can suddenly decide to attack you as well.
So if I take on c3?
Take on c3, queen takes c3.
Knight e4?
Knight e4,
Right.
okay.
But,
So all's got b2.
yeah.
All's got b2 here. Just about.
Okay, let's leave this for
Okay.
now. Go back to our top board, and we'll let Fabiano think about this. But I like the way white has played this.
Knight e1 is a very
So,
clever move.
yeah.
Very clever move from white there. And I actually, it looks like black should be a bit scared there actually. Okay, so board one is the two leaders of the competition,
And the queens have come off.
right, g6, queen f3. So these are the only two players on maximum points, the only two players on 3 points, and not going to be much fire on the board today from Shirov, I think, after queen b7. After queen takes queen, I'm assuming Shirov will be hoping that his better pawn structure here will give him a nice nibble, like a nice small advantage, because later on c5 could be weak. But not saying that, black has his powerful knight on e6. Okay, rook d1, taking control of the file, bishop e7, and now we maybe see one of the points of this knight maneuver. This knight went to this square, but it tries to now find a better route, because I mentioned how bad it is on this square. So it comes to f1, and I think it's going to try to make its way around to either to c4 or d5 here with this maneuver here. Looks like a very good maneuver. So black now goes knight d4, and this doesn't offer a pawn because b2 is on pre. White just ignores that and goes knight to e3. f6, black trying to gain counterplay here, and this seems like a good way to try to gain some counterplay, because now the bishop can come to support the knight. So this is a good plan. Again, if you ever take the knight here, it doesn't seem to gain much, because you can do a lot of exchanges. Well, here it's even worse because I take on e5. So he takes on f6, bishop takes f6. The threat here is knight to e2 check. Shirov brings his king to the center, to the ending, stops that threat, and now Vidit goes king f7, so that his last piece, the rook on h8, can come and defend this strong knight on d4. So if this knight can remain on d4, it's going to be absolutely fine for Vidit. I mean, he certainly can't be worse here with a knight on d4. Is there a way we can eliminate that knight? I mean, a move like knight d5 springs to mind a knight c4 again. What do you reckon here?
Yeah,
Maybe.
you know me, I don't get too inspired by these
Fine.
kind of positions, but I
No.
think, yeah, I think white has the better pawn structure, but black has this knight on d4.
Yeah. No, I agree.
I would say we're headed towards another draw here.
It looks very likely something like this with two players of this strength could peter out into a draw at some stage. I mean, unless there's a way, Shirov can coordinate somehow, and maybe he should just start trying to hit this pawn. Maybe he should just go rook c1, b3, bishop a1. Let's just try that. Maybe you can do this. So something like here, rook d8, b3, so that I can move my bishop away and just start to hit your weakness. That's your main problem there, your pawn on c5. Yeah. So I could try to play sort of some positional ideas like this. And the knight on d4, it does look good, doesn't it? And it is a good piece, but it's not actually doing anything too scary either. I mean, it's not going to start an attack. It's not going to do anything that's going to overly worry me.
So do you think if I was going to say if I play a move like knight e6 and swap bishops, but then you get the d5 square, which I'm not happy about, I guess.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I think the more pieces that get exchanged, maybe
the pawn is getting weaker.
Probably getting weaker as well. So I do expect a draw though, because black seems to have coordinated reasonably well here. It's only one weakness, isn't it, the c5 pawn, and this knight could be annoying. So I predict a draw, but it's a long game, and Shirov can obviously play on for ages there.
Let's go back to Julio Granda against Wesley, so on board 3.
This is a very interesting game.
Very interesting game.
Very, very exciting. It was an English opening.
And after that, just to keep the people in the chat happy, we will have a quick look at Thomas Petz against Harika by popular demand.
Okay. So we had this position here the last time we looked after rook e5, and Wesley sowed a second seed playing against legendary Giulio, who's sort of apparently never owned a chess book in his life. So actually, I'll just see we missed a move we've got a different board up in the corner of the screen there. Actually, that board is still from the Fabiano game, the analysis board there. But I see that we missed an obvious move there, so we probably should come back to that at some point. But okay, after rook e5, queen f4 played, attacking the rook, forcing that rook to do something. Well, black decides to defend the rook, queen d6, and now e3, trying to open up more lines on the king side, where, I mean, black really wants this pawn back on g7, I think. This pawn has created a lot of weakened squares there. So white naturally trying to open up that area of the board, and Wesley so aims for action on the other side of the board with rook b5, and also says, well, okay, I want to exchange queens off, because then my king will not get checkmated if I can get rid of the queens. So that seems like a very natural move to play. So queen d6 is probably a clever move. I quite like this queen d6 idea. Nice idea, because white would want to avoid exchanging queens.
Yeah, I was just going to say, can he avoid it?
The only square I can see is e4. It looks funny putting it there. I mean, you've always got f5.
But don't I have rook e5?
Rook e5, then I take on d4 with the queen.
Yeah, sorry. Yep.
I mean, just to point out to people back home, in this position, white can take on d4 immediately, but then black just recaptures on d4, and we can see the point of rook b5. Knight takes d4, rook takes b2, and this a pawn is going to be very dangerous. If you take with a pawn in this position, then I play a4, yeah. And again, the a pawn, the black a pawn, very strong, because I expect black will win a2 as well. So this is why Fiona suggested queen e4. And I expect something like what's he gone for? He's gone rook takes c7, natural move. Rook takes c7. We'll keep up with the game, shall we? So the moves are coming quite quick. Rook takes c7 played. Wesley has got rid of the queens. Queen takes f4. And now Giulio has taken with the e pawn. And at this moment in time, white is one pawn up at the moment, but short position is for black, and I'm thinking now the dark square bishop can get into the game, and the kingside weaknesses that I've been short position is for black, and I'm thinking now the dark square bishop can get into the game, and the kingside weaknesses that I've been is for black, and I'm thinking now the dark square bishop can get into the game, and the kingside weaknesses that I've been getting into the game, and the kingside weaknesses